Extraction shooters. You enter dangerous area, kill players, NPCs, loot, defeat bosses, scoot, and extract. Sell, barter, craft, stash, buy, rinse, and repeat. Pretty addicting gameplay loop if you ask me. Hey Pepper Gang, welcome back to the channel, and anyone that's brand new here, welcome in. My name is Spicy, and I am addicted to extraction looters. You name it, I most likely played it. Not just play these games for a couple hours for a sponsored ad and video and moving on to the next one. No, I dig in deep. Dozens, hundreds, and hundreds of hours exploring everything these games have to offer to get a true understanding of these games and showcase them to you guys. And honestly, they're just fun as fuck. Can I say fuck? I do have my favorites I put more hours into, but I truly enjoy this emerging genre and play the majority of the games that appear. Popularized by Escape from Tarkov, over the last couple years, we have seen more and more of these games appear in early development, as well as disappear as quickly as they arrived. I posted a video in September 2022 analyzing where this genre came from and where I think it was headed. And now in April 2024, I want to reanalyze the extraction looter genre since it's my bread and butter for content. The video I'm referring to is suggested above. I recommend watching it if you haven't yet, but the gist of the video was that I believe the genre will truly blow up to be the next big thing when a development studio can successfully translate this extraction formula with their own twist to console gaming. Even though PC gaming continues to be extremely popular and on the rise, many people still game on consoles, casual gamers as some people call them, and they only have two games that really satisfy that extraction looter itch right now: Hunt Showdown and Vigor, both which have been around for a couple years, and both seem to have decently sized communities around them. But since the genre started to take off, there still hasn't been that one impactful extraction game land on console, which is why I still believe this genre can still be much bigger than it actually is right now. When I posted my first analysis on the genre in September 2022, at the time, Cycle Frontier was entering Season 2, Marauders, Dark and Darker, Expedition Agartha, Call of Duty DMZ were all launching that fall into early access, and Escape from Tarkov was not in the greatest state at the time, which in a way drove a lot of hype towards any game labeled at the time Extraction. Now, a year and a half later, where are those games right now? Well, the Silent Frontier has been officially shut down since then. Marauders is still hanging on with a committed community, but it has had its lows in the last year. Dark and Darker is arguably the most popular melee-based extraction game out there right now, and its popularity even can encourage spin-offs to pop up, such as Green is Good. Expedition Agartha pretty much never took off due to Dark and Darker's popularity, and Call of Duty DMZ has short-lived hype, but isn't the focus of Call of Duty in 2024, and it's honestly just an afterthought at this point. And coming back around to EFT, its latest wipe to start 2024 has been considered one of the best in recent memory due to major recoil changes, armor changes, and many old veterans like myself did come back to play and dig into Tarkov. It was definitely the most popular wipe in the last 2 years, yet the game is still plagued by cheaters and continues to deal with a never-ending list of technical bugs. Now, those are games that we heard of at the time I posted my first analysis in 2022, and since then we have had many come through the game development pipeline. I'm about to hit you guys with the lightning round of games. You might have played some of these, never heard of them, and keep in mind many of these are still in alpha, beta, or early access states, or just recently announced, so some of these we haven't even touched. I'm also including single-player extraction games because those are starting to surface too. With that, here is the list, not counting the ones I just spoke of. Dead Drop had initial snapshots that were public. It's now officially in close development. Star Siege Dead Zone, it has already come and gone. Ghost of Path of Renown, early access dropped in fall of 2023 with its own launcher, and it will be dropping to Steam this summer in 2024. Shows a lot of promise and one I really enjoy right now. Ascendant Infinity, it's in beta state, and it's a surface extraction looter more around economy and getting money out. Arc Raiders in alpha state, it's very little known about this game right now. It's all under hush hush. Hopefully we hear more news soon. Beautiful Light, it's open under non-NDA development. Occasional playtests will happen. I've been covering this game pretty closely, and they're aiming at a winter 2024 early access release, hopefully on Steam. Project Elite, it's about to hit a 24/7 open alpha, just had a closed alpha, and has had some controversy around it already. Level 0 Extraction, It just had a closed beta and is about to go into open beta in summer 2024, and it's honestly a happy surprise for me. It's another game I have been covering and will continue to cover, more horror-based themed. Marathon, one of the few AAA shooters that we've heard of. Very little info as of now, most likely 2025 arrival. They did just announce recently that their game's going to have heroes, which is something no other extraction game has tried to do. A lot of negative feedback came from that announcement. Venator, another game that has come and gone. There was controversy surrounding it during alpha testing about stolen assets. Gray Zone Warfare, early access arrival in late 2024, maybe early 2025. We just got alpha gameplay. Lots of hype driven around this game. Lost Light, it's a mobile game that seems to be successful in that realm. Probably the only successful mobile extraction game right now. PUBG is going to be doing their own extraction game. There's little info on that right now. Zero Zebra, probably my favorite single-player extraction game right now. It's been around for about 2 years. Quasimurph just came out, another single-player top-down game. Hell is Others was originally a multiplayer top-down game, had some failures and turned into a single-player success. And then Exoborn, another game that's been announced, have seen very little gameplay. And I'm sure there's one I missed. In some sort of fashion, all those games have some sort of extraction mechanic. Now, I put that in quotations because extraction has been loosely used and honestly has been used a bit as a marketing gimmick too. Now, for a year and a half, that is a lot coming through the development pipeline, reinforcing that this genre is gaining traction and attention from developers of all sizes. Some of these games have changed their initial plans and readjusted their games to become extraction games, such as Level Zero and Arc Raiders. Some of these games are already considered dead due to balancing issues they had, or just not gaining any initial traction past the beta stages, such as Star Siege Dead Zone or Venator. Hell is Others was initially a top-down extraction game, but it got hit so hard by cheaters so early on, the game developers turned it into a single-player game just to salvage what they had left of the game. As you can see, the genre is extremely hard to succeed in, and part of the reason why we still haven't seen it blown up to battle royale type of levels, and perhaps why it never will. Now, after playing many of these games and watching them come and go, there is a pattern of difficulty studios have to overcome in order to succeed, from what I have noticed. Balancing in these PvPvE games extremely tough. The Cycle Frontiers struggled with this when it came to balancing their armor and weapons combined with their high time to kill. Star Siege Dead Zone didn't seem to have a proper roadmap or idea for what they wanted the game to be, and it felt that the game was just never balanced from the get-go. When you have PvP to worry about, lobbies that can contain solos through teams in these games with no MMR of any kind is a plus too. Along with world bosses, NPCs, environmental roadblocks, balancing is extremely tough to nail. Unfortunately, not many gamers are patient enough to ride out the balancing struggles some of these games will have and have had. This leads me to my next point. As of now, this genre right now has too many options and just not enough players. The players that regularly enjoy extraction games do tend to stick to their favorites, and it feels like the genre is spread thin, like not enough butter on toast, since it hasn't reached mainstream popularity yet. When the player base is low in certain games, a lot of the issues these games might be dealing with feel magnified times 10, and lower player bases can also create issues in these games that wouldn't be there if the population was larger. When we have so many options popping up right now, I'm not surprised some of these small studios struggle to take off. Now, when it comes to small studios too, which many of these games come from, they have to have a proper publisher who can help market their game properly. In general, funding seems to be a roadblock for these small games too. Marauders, for example, one of my favorites, probably my favorite, even though it's still hanging in there. It was affected in 2023 and has had update delays due to issues its publisher had, Team 17, with layoffs and high turnover. And this is something the entire gaming industry has had to deal with. Games are businesses, studios are businesses, and sometimes the sole issue a game fails is money related. Now, the next issue I see when it comes to these games is one that plagues all FPS games and is a bigger issue in itself. Cheaters, RMT sellers attach themselves to all of these games due to the hardcore nature they often bring. Whether it's for small moment of power or selling boosted accounts or items, cheaters are attracted to extraction shooters. The smaller the studio and funding, the harder it can be to combat this issue. The Cycle Frontier, for example, got a really bad reputation on launch due to cheaters, and even though they made anti-cheat changes towards Season 2, it was too late for the game and never recovered from that really bad launch. Tarkov is arguably the worst one when it comes to this issue and still hasn't gotten it right. It is an industry-wide issue, unfortunately, and these games have been a prime target for them. And lastly, I think overhype is a true issue with this genre right now. Gamers are craving that next big thing and think this is it, the next Tarkov, the Tarkov killer, whatever you want to name it. And I feel the expectations for these games in alpha and beta states are way off proportion due to the constant overhype we see, a lot of times driven through YouTube content. Grayzone Warfare is a perfect example of this. I think what we saw from pre-alpha gameplay was to be expected for that same development, and certain aspects of it that looked great and exceeded some expectations, but through comments and chats and just tweeting and you just read through the community, it seems a lot of people were let down at the alpha gameplay reveal, which shows how skewed expectations can be. And I think we need to be more reasonable about this. These games are hard to nail, just like survival games. They need time to cook. So I have revisited my analysis of extraction games as they were starting to pop up 2 years ago, seeing how many have come and gone the last 2 years, and discuss the difficulties that this genre has when it comes to developing a successful extraction game. So where are we headed here in 2024? Are extraction shooters still the next big thing? I still think so. The genre still hasn't peaked like Battle Royales did a few years ago. One of the positives I have seen in this genre the last 2 years is the emergence of subgenres in it. For example, you have your traditional EFT-like looter shooter games like Tarkov, Marauders, Level 0, Twisted Path to Renown. But we're also starting to see more objective-based extraction games appear, very similar to Hunt Showdown. It's not about the loot, it's about your goal in the raid. Beautiful Light and Ascended Infinity are examples of this. Grayzone Warfare is aiming to have a more PvE-driven extraction experience and not so PvP-driven like other games. And we're also starting to see single-player extraction games such as Zero Zevert and Hellas Others. Plus, I have also started to see more extraction-based mods for existing games, such as the Escape from Tarkov DayZ servers. You get the point. The genre is developing, which shows that there is still growing interest in it. This constant build-off ideas between studios and studios being inspired by other studios is how you get insanely popular games to appear. That's game development at its core. And I still think the first successful one to make it to console will take the genre to the next level. And if that happens, all of these small communities, small games will rise with the tide as they wrap up their development too. Ideally. Or, completely wrong, extraction games are just gonna end up like survival games, a niche genre that never really takes off, but always has a popular following. I don't know. Maybe. But I'm going to stay optimistic. Who knows what the future holds? I like talking about all this stuff. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I appreciate you all watching this far. Different type of video if you're a regular here, but if you're new, consider checking out my playlist focusing on many of these games, or visit the live stream on Twitch sometime. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.